Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Ujjwal. I'm a third year medical student. I'm halfway done with third year. As you can tell, I've made videos very irregularly, but I think this is the shortest time frame before in between videos of me making this video for my last one. So I hope you guys are all doing well. So I wanted to make this video kind of like reflecting a little bit. I turned 25 very soon, and I wanted to make a video kind of sharing the key lessons, the 5 main lessons that I learned before I turned 25. I hope I carry these through the rest of my life, but wanted to share these insights with you guys. So without further ado, we can jump right into it. I think the first thing that I've learned very seriously is that nothing in life is permanent. Whether that's people, whether that's grief, whether that's success, nothing is permanent. So positives and negatives to this, right? People are not permanent. You learn this the hard way. Many times we take the people in our lives for granted, and only when when either they move far away from us or they're no longer part of our lives, you kind of you miss them, stuff like that. So people are not permanent, and that's just an unfortunate reality of life. But it can also be it can also be a realization that helps us kind of make the most of the time that we do have with people. So take that how you will. Grief is not permanent, right? So if you're going through a rough time, you didn't do well in an exam, it stings and hurts immediately in the period right after you go through that rough patch. Maybe I shouldn't use the word grief. Grief is stronger, usually refers to when you lose someone in your life. But any kind of pain, it's not permanent, right? So I think that's also really important, because especially in the face of failure, that's usually the first thing that we start to define ourselves as, that failure, especially in the immediate time that it happens. But kind of keeping in mind that nothing in life is permanent, even that moment is not permanent, can kind of give us give us hope into the future, and maybe allow us to perhaps make the most of that moment, whatever kind of moment that may be. And then success is also not permanent, right? Kind of on the flip side, on the opposite side, it's amazing when you, for example, achieve an acceptance to medical school, you get an award, you're on cloud nine, you're riding this high, and it's an amazing feeling, especially when you get into med school after working so hard. It's the culmination of years of work. That happiness lasts a while, but it's important to remember that even that feeling of happiness and contentment is not permanent, right? It quickly goes away, usually when you start med school, and then you're in the middle of you kind of go through this phase where you're trying to figure out how to study. It's a little stressful. But no success even lasts forever, and that's important because it's kind of going off of the vein of it's the journey that's important and not the destination, right? Getting into med school is not a destination. It's really just the start of a journey, and not that you shouldn't make the most of those valuable experiences of successes that you get, but even that success, that feeling of success is impermanent. So long story short, first lesson: everything in life is most things in life are not permanent, and it has its ups and downs. But it should allow us to at least try to live life more in a more enriching way. So second thing I learned is you kind of watch all these YouTube videos, you read all these books, especially these self-help books, especially people who are trying to focus on performance, because they want to learn the formula for success, right? The formula for success is something that no one has really cracked. It's kind of an elusive concept. Different people have their different takes on this. So obviously, you can take what I'm going to say with a grain of salt, but I was told this by my mentor in my first year of med school when I applied for something and I didn't get it. It was like the very first thing I applied for, and I didn't get it. My mentor sat me down and he was just like, kind of giving me some advice about how you kind of take that, and how he went through that over and over again in his life. But I believe the formula for success is really having the confidence to fail. Because if you have the confidence to fail, you're going to be willing to put yourself out there. You're not going to be taken aback by rejection or failure. And you're going to allow yourself to kind of keep bouncing back, right? You're going to get better with each time you bounce back. And eventually you're going to achieve what you're trying to achieve. Sometimes on an even larger scale because you've amassed so much experience, so much knowledge, and you've just been in this process, continuous process trying to get better. You might even achieve something greater that you didn't even anticipate you could ever achieve in the past. So the formula for success really is having the confidence to fail. So I try to mentor as many pre-med students applying to med school as possible. And the one thing that I tell people, especially if you're not getting interviews and they start to panic and they're starting to think about applying again, I tell them the strongest thing that you have is your ability to have confidence in the face of failure. Have the confidence to fail. Have the confidence to know that you might not get an interview this cycle. Have the confidence to know you might not get in this cycle and that you might need to apply again. If you're confident in your ability to bounce back from that failure, or it's really not a failure, but a lot of people, they will think of that as a failure. So if you have the confidence to bounce back from not being able to achieve kind of what you want to achieve in that short term, then you will have the energy and you will have the resilience to be able to push yourself back up. If you're afraid of failure, one, you're not going to take chances, right? You might not apply to that med school that you really don't think you could get into. You might not apply to that fellowship or that internship that you think is really competitive and your scores just don't even give you a chance. You might not take part in a competition that you think there's a lot of other better candidates out there, and you probably aren't going to you're probably not going to make the cut. If you don't have the confidence to fail, you're going to rule yourself out and count yourself out way before you even give yourself a chance to succeed. And that's really the differentiation and the differentiating factor between the people who are successful and not. People who are successful, they can fail 100 different times, but they're ready and willing to get back up again and to push again and again and again. I think there's a threshold. Right, so a lot of us, we've heard this concept of, failures are a stepping stone to success. If you fail once, get back up, keep trying. But I think what really separates those people who succeed from those who don't there's a cutoff, right? There's only so much failure sometimes you can take before you're like, shit, F this. I'm fed up. I don't think I have it in me to do this again and again. But the people who are successful, they're people who are willing to fail again and again and again and keep going, and then eventually they'll persevere. Now, is this a hard and fast rule? No, but I believe that if you fail, you learn from it, you go and push yourself back up, and even if it takes a couple of times, you're able to push through, and you have that energy and strength to be able to push through. At some point, you're gonna persevere. I think that's the true formula for success. It's not a formula in the sense that XYZ is going to lead to success, but it's a mindset shift. That's something that I've learned, and I think that even I can do better in my life as well. Right? Sometimes it's hard in the face of failure or rejection to be able to kind of get back up and try something else or try something new. But if you're willing to give yourself the shot, you never know which time you're going to make it. So that's the second life lesson. The third life lesson is don't worry about what other people think of you, because chances are they probably don't care about you. I think this is important because I kind of need to remind myself this all the time, especially now on clinical rotations. You're in like a lot of social settings, whether it's in the OR, or on the medicine team, you're presenting and stuff like that. It's really easy to kind of feel, chances are you're going to say something stupid. You're going to say something silly. You're going to say something that doesn't make sense. You're going to have a bad day. You're just not going to be that, you're not going to be that eloquent in the way you speak. So chances are that's going to happen at some point or another, right? If you can kind of remind yourself that people really don't care about, I'm not trying to make it sound like people don't care about you, but if you can remember that people aren't going to hold on to every single word that you say, that's not going to define you. People are going to literally forget about what you said the minute after you're done talking. Like if you can tell yourself that, then you can kind of cut yourself some slack and feel a little bit more at ease, right? In each of these situations. Like something that really makes public speaking and trying things kind of stressful is what are people going to think, right? Because we're humans, we're social creatures. We're naturally going to be tending towards the fear of judgment and people's opinion of us. So, for example, getting into med school, something that people will be afraid of is, well, if I don't get in, yeah, that sucks. I didn't get in, but now all my friends are going to know, my family members are going to know that I didn't get in. I'm going to need to explain to them that I'm going to need to be applying again and that I'm not going to be starting med school this year. I'm not going to lie to you. That feeling sucks. Like, that feeling sucks when, it's not, you're not the only one who's being hard on yourself. You're also kind of you're kind of also afraid of what other people are going to be thinking about you. But once again, kind of going off of the second point of the formula for success is having the confidence to fail, having the confidence to let other people think what they want to think about you, and you just not caring at all about that is also a superpower. It is also a hallmark of people who are successful, because those people, once again, kind of similarly, they're willing to keep pushing. Like, they're willing to keep pushing, and they don't care if they fail 100 different times, because they don't care if people are going to start thinking that they're failures, or like that they're going to think of you as someone who's failed 100 different times. Like, you're not going to care. All you care about is you doing your work and you getting your stuff done. And when the 101th time that you do this and then you become successful, the people who see you, they're going to be like, shit, this guy got successful overnight. Like, I think I saw this quote somewhere. Like, one day it's going to look like it happened overnight, because no one's paying attention to your journey, especially when you fail or you're rejected or whatever. People don't care about you then. People care about you when you suddenly make it big. When you succeed, then people are going to be like, wow, this guy's smart. Wow, this guy's cool. They're going to forget about all the times you failed and your rejections. They're going to suddenly be like, wow, this guy's really cool. Like, Albert Einstein, I don't remember where I read this, but he failed 100 different times before he became successful. Now, Albert Einstein is like the hallmark name as someone who's smart and is a genius. No one cares about the fact that he failed 100 different times. So it's easier. I know these things are easier said than done, but frankly, these aren't just lessons that I learned and now I exemplify. I'm still learning these lessons kind of in the process, but I know these are things that really can make a big difference in, whatever journey you're on. So that's the next thing, right? Don't think about what other people think. And that kind of rolls into my next point, my fourth point, which is each person's path is different, right? So like, if you don't get into med school this time, you get in the next time, then that's your journey. That's a unique journey. And in that 1 year, you learn something and gain some more unique experiences that define you as a person. So like, for example, I didn't take a gap year between undergrad and med school. And a lot of my classmates did. It's very common, especially nowadays in the U.S. For medical school, for a lot of people to take a year out between undergrad and med school, because it just gives you a little bit more breathing room. You can take the MCAT, do some clinical experience. It's really just an all-around awesome experience. I didn't, because that just wasn't on my radar. The concept of taking a year out just wasn't on my mind. But now that I look at some of my classmates, I see them, I start to think, wow, like some of them, like a lot of my classmates have had some amazing experiences, like some real world experiences. They've had real jobs, like they've had to pay rent on their own. They got to travel a little bit. They got to explore a little bit. They got to really figure out if medicine was right for them. Disclaimer, not to say that I don't think medicine's right for me. I like being in medicine, but they've had so many opportunities to kind of do more exploration. I didn't really do that. And sometimes it's a little scary to take a path that deviates from what the conventional thinking is. The conventional thought of got to go to high school, then go to undergrad, then go to med school, then do residency. The concept of taking a year out kind of deviates from that straight line path. You got to take a little detour, and that's scary sometimes, right? But it's really reassuring to remember sometimes the best paths in life are the ones that aren't straight. A lot of my classmates, especially the ones, sometimes I think I told you guys before in another video, when I was in my preclinical small groups, these people would bring in some pretty cool knowledge from their experiences during their gap year jobs. And I would be like, wow, that's so cool. Like, I never did that. I never saw that. That's really awesome. And I really won't get the chance to see that or do that now in med school. I just don't have the time. And, I just probably won't have the time moving forward. Even now, people do take a year out between third year and fourth year med school. It's common to do research, especially if you want to go to a competitive specialty or if you just want to explore research. And I'm encouraged to do so by my mentors. And it's still a little scary for me to think about taking a year out, thinking about, oh, my classmates will be moving on and I won't. This is kind of goes back to the third point. Don't be afraid of, don't worry about what other people think of you. But it's just a natural part of us, right? So that's kind of the reason why I share that point. As well, because I really shouldn't care about what other people might think of me. Other people might be like, this guy is taking an extra year in med school. I know my parents would think that way. I know some of my family members might think that way. But if you can kind of tune out what everyone else is saying and realize that sometimes the best paths in life aren't the straight ones, I might be able to open myself up to a really unique experience in that year out. Meet some new people, maybe do some research and find a new research interest, maybe figure out what I kind of want to shape my career as. Because, right, medicine isn't just med school, residency, attending. It's not that simple. Like, there's different things you can do. Like, you can do this specialty, you can do that specialty, you can do just clinical, you can do clinical and research. I might give myself the opportunity to figure out exactly what I want to do. So that's something. That's so point number 4. In summary, sometimes the best paths in life are not the straight ones. So I know a lot of people who watch my videos are pre-med. If you don't get into med school, then that's because you're going to have an amazing experience in your gap year that's going to enrich your life experience and journey much, much more. Some of the people I look up to, like the chairs of departments and stuff in my med school here, they've taken years out between undergrad med school, in med school, and I look up to them today. So did it like affect them? I think it enriched their journeys, and now they're really cool for what they did, and I look up to them, right? So similarly, your journey it is going to be what it is. Today might be kind of rough if you take a year out or a gap year, especially if it was unintended and you had to take a year out, whether you didn't get in or whatnot. It can feel like it's a setback, but it's really in your hands, in our hands, to turn a setback into an opportunity. That's a skill. That's also a skill, I think, that separates those who are successful from those who are not. But yeah, that's just something I wanted to share. And then the last lesson I learned is none of these things that I said today matter if your mental health is not in a good space. I think in one of my very initial videos I wanted to talk about, I said that on my channel I'll talk about a whole lot of things, and then when med school started, things kind of just went, in terms of the YouTube channel, I just really could not make videos simultaneously. I just focused more so on school and research, that I just didn't spend a lot of time. So, I put out videos here and there, but really not that often, especially not as often as I hoped to before med school started. One thing that I think I've really understood is, one, mental health is neglected significantly, period, especially in certain communities than others. As an Indian myself, especially in the Asian and Indian community, very highly neglected, not talked about, all that. And I know my channel is a lot about getting into med school, doing well, peak performance. That's kind of how I see my channel. A lot of the advice even I gave you now is really about, this is the formula for success. This is what successful people do. I talk about all that. All this stuff is contingent on, if your mental health is not in the right space, you can't execute this stuff. Like, it is really taxing and draining to be able to have the confidence to not fail, not worry about what other people think of you, be able to take a detour in your path and, be able to have that mindset. None of these things are easy if you are not in a good mental health space. And it's very possible to not be in the best mental health space, especially on this journey. Medicine is really rigorous. There's other fields. Mental health does not just kind of bound itself to medicine, but studies have shown that especially those who are, pre-med and in med school and stuff, the rates of mental health issues are much higher. That's why I'm talking about it. But it's very possible that a lot of you who watch my channel are also kind of going through your own struggles and stuff like that. And one, you might not be sure who you can talk to that stuff about. We all know that our schools have a nice counseling center that you can go to and reach out, and then you can take care of your mental health. You can download this app. You can do this. You can do that. And I know we've all had the same thought that as helpful as some things are, they're not. An app is not going to make you feel better. Just talking to someone once or twice is not necessarily going to make you feel better. Sometimes our friends serve as our therapist, which is kind of funny. But I don't really think that's the right. That's not really a sustainable solution. Let's just say that. All of this to say, even though there's some stigma, there's a lot of stigma against seeking care for mental health, and it can be tough to admit it to yourself, let alone to others. If the sooner you can come to an understanding, if you need this, right? Not everyone is struggling with their mental health right now, but those of you who are. And you know who you are if you're watching this video and you're thinking this resonates with me, just seek help. And if you don't know who to reach out to, then reach out reach out to who people you can trust to ask them what you can do perhaps to make it better. Reach out to me. I don't mind helping guide you to the right resources or hearing you out or whatnot. Obviously, I'm not a licensed therapist or whatnot, but so I can't help you there. But more than happy to try to help make this process a little less stressful, because I totally get it. Like, I totally get it. It's not easy to, it's especially not easy to talk about this, and it's not easy to even open up about the stuff with your family, your parents, siblings. Like, it's just not. Sometimes we kind of we portray ourselves in a very certain light, and we don't want others to see us any differently. Especially people in med school. I've noticed people in med school are smart people, competitive people. These are people who they want everyone around them, their colleagues and fellow med students, to see them as strong, smart people. They don't want them to see them struggling with their mental health and all that. And I'm telling you, it does affect your performance. So even if you're still, even if like seeking care for your mental health is like a low thing on your priority, keep in mind it's going to affect your performance too, which as people in this path, I know we care about our performance. It's going to affect your peak performance. It'll really, if you address your mental health issues earlier on, and it's a journey addressing those issues, it's not a quick fix, but it'll help you kind of be at the level of performance you want to be at, whether you're pre-med, med school, residency. I mean, I can't speak too much to like attending life, but they say that's the light at the end of the tunnel. But even residency is really hard. Because I'm working on, when I'm in clinical rotations, I see the residents, they have long hours. It's really hard. Like, it's really tough. I used to think next step is going to be better. Next step is going to be better. Next step is going to be better. But now I look at the residents and I'm like, shit, like this seems really, really tough. Like, I don't know if, it's cool because you kind of get a lot more responsibility, but it's still really stressful. So long story short, especially on this medical journey, there's a lot of stress in terms of exams, application processes, stuff like that. It's hard to talk about mental health, and some things can trigger it, right? My first point was nothing is permanent. When people lose people in their lives, whether that's losing, a life partner, losing a family member, that can trigger mental health crises. And, it's whatever it is, however you're feeling, even if you don't know how you're feeling, but you really think you could use some help, reach out to someone important, and try to get yourself connected to some resources. And once again, if you really are kind of in a weird place and you want to talk to like a complete stranger and get their advice on what you can do, just reach out to me. And I really don't mind helping out. But with that said, those are the 5 lessons that I learned before I turned 25. I still have a little bit before I turn 25. But I just felt like this would be a nice video to make. One, I like making YouTube videos, and I was kind of going on the track of making 1 video per med school year, and I kind of wanted to break that. So now this is my second video I made during M3. And in addition to that, I think this would be kind of a nice video for just me to come back to myself. So hopefully you guys got some value out of this. Good luck to everyone who's applying to med school this cycle. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. More than happy to help whenever I do have the time. And yeah, wish you guys the best of luck, and hope you guys have a great holiday season. I don't know when my next video is going to be, but thank you guys for whoever's been watching my videos and stuck around until this time. Thank you guys so much. It really means a lot to me. I wish you guys the best of luck, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.